Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another Commander highlight video of mine. This is where I showcase one of my Commander decks and hopefully offer you guys some helpful tips on similar decks you might want to build, and also get some feedback on the one I've already made. So last time I gave you the Amarith the Illustrious, which I feel is kind of a salty competitive deck full of combos. Before that I gave the casual fun deck of the Skeleton Ship. And today we're going to examine Tolsmir, the Friend to Wolves, and I'm calling this deck the Good Boys, because they're full of wolves. And I feel that it is somewhere in between the other two decks as far as competitiveness. It does not rely on crazy complex combos or trying to win by turn 3 or 4, but it does excel at removing threats and can get out of hand in the number of tokens you can create pretty quickly. So it is one of my stronger decks, I feel, and it's my most fun and requires not a lot of thinking. So overall it is my favorite deck, and I'm excited to tell you about it. So you might be asking, who is this Tolsmir elf that is our commander here? So let's briefly talk about his abilities and his lore. So he is a 5-cost 3/3 creature that ETBs to create a legendary wolf token, Voja, the Friend to Elves. And then he also has a static ability that says whenever a wolf you control enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and you may have that wolf fight up to 1 creature you don't control. So the general idea, the more wolves you have, the more life and fighting you will do. And fighting, by the way, is where the other target creature and this creature are going to deal their damage to each other. So it is non-combat damage with the creature attacking the other creature outside of combat. And that is the general idea. We want to take out big threats before they become a problem by creating a lot of wolves. So let's not get ahead of ourselves though and stick to the outline here. Who is he? Who is Tolsmir? Well, according to the wiki here, he is an elven evangelist of the Selesnya Conclave on Ravnica and one of the greatest Ledev guardians. The Ledev are a order of knights, and they're kind of like a type of bodyguard for the priest and the Conclave of Selesnya, and they travel across the plane with them, protecting them with their loyal wolf companion, which all seem to be of this white fur and the size of a bear. So the character of Tolsmir appears in-game as 2 cards, one from Ravnica, the other from War Sparks. So the War Sparks one is our commander here, Tolsmir, the Friend to Wolves, and then there is Tolsmir Wolfblood. And both actually creatures create Voja of different names. So you can have both Tolsmirs and both Vojas in the same deck, as I do. So that'll get you more possibilities of more wolves. And so Wolfblood actually exists during the Decamillion, or the 10,000th anniversary of the Guild Pact signing on Ravnica. And the whole story of this event and everything leading up to it is recorded in the novel Ravnica by Corey Herndon. And I actually read that novel, and I have the series. It's pretty good and a nice place to jump into the lore of the game. And it is about Agent Koss and his detective work to uncover this Golgari plot to wreak havoc across the city and try to, well, I don't want to spoil everything, but he does team up eventually with another Ledev named Fawn, and she has a wolf companion named Barakazar, who, by the way, has been sired by Voja. So in other words, Voja is the little wolf daddy of Barakazir, and so that means at least he was in his prime, fully grown at the time of the climactic battle. However, this is the only reference to him. Voja himself is not present in the novel, and neither is Tolsmir. So we just kind of imply that they exist at the same time in Ravnica. They were involved in the epic battle at the end, I can just assume. But that's all we have to go with. The Friend to Elves, though, It doesn't really have much background except the art here. He's fighting the Dread Horde. I did notice, though, in the background there's these columned buildings, which seems more reminiscent in style of the Azuria Senate than the Conclave. Something I did notice, though, also, between the two creatures, it seems like their creature type changes from Elf Warrior to Elf Scout. And I thought that was weird because it looks like the art does not seem to reflect that. Because Wolfblood, he's a warrior, but he's mounted and shooting a bow, which seems like something a scout would do. And then Friend to Wolves is actually dismounted and swinging a sword, which seems like something a warrior would do. So I don't know if that was intentional or what. If someone can explain that, how that artwork fits the card type, that would be nice to know. But yeah, that's about all we can say about the lore. He is basically a tree hippie who loves wolves, especially his buddy Voja. So the deck, the ideal way to build it would be Wolf Tribal, and that's what I've done here. The more wolves you have, the more you can pump out and fight things, remove big threats, especially other commanders or other combo pieces. You can take them out. So ideally, you would want token doublers. I've got two, the Anointed Procession and Parallel Lies. I don't have Doubling Season just because I don't have it lying around, but that would be better to include all three. And you know what's better than just fighting? One-sided fighting. Because if you have the Wanderer or Imara Tandaris, you would actually negate all the damage dealt to your own creatures in that fighting. So that's pretty good. And besides that, I do just want general protection, especially for the commander. So I threw in Privileged Position, Asceticism, mostly because I can regenerate Tolsmir, and then Martyr's Cause. I can prevent the damage that would be dealt to Tolsmir from like a burn spell. And then you do gain a lot of life with all those wolves that enter the battlefield, so you want to make use of it. And I put in the Well of Lost Dreams to add value to that. So a big part of the deck is the wolves fighting, and it would be good if they have enough damage and enough toughness to stay alive after fighting. So I have a section of cards that I call creature buffs. So I've got like Beastmaster Ascension, Ajani the Great-Hearted, Collective Blessing. So the idea is we want to turn these 2/2s into 4/4s, even 5/5s to beef them up. And then you do also want repeatable ways to produce tokens. So I have the Howling Moon, Master of the Wild Hunt, and Rin's Run Packmaster. And the Packmaster there seems a little more difficult to play because you do have to champion an elf. Otherwise you have to sacrifice it as it ETBs. So that is why I have the Mirror Entity and the Maskwood Nexus to have all our creatures become every creature type. And that really ties into our first combo, and actually I guess really the only combo of the deck, because this deck is not combo focused, it's more just on simple fighting and just having a lot of tokens. But anyway, the Maskwood Nexus plus the Turn Timber Ranger plus the Commander equals infinite wolves and infinite life, infinite ETB. The way that works is the Ranger says when he ETBs, he creates a wolf, and then whenever another ally enters the battlefield, you create another wolf. So the Nexus is going to make that same wolf also an ally, so it would trigger for itself forever. So you could have 10,000 wolves and 30,000 life if you wanted. It is a May ability, so you can stop it at any time. And even though you can fight everything, you obviously can't kill targets that are indestructible. So that is the one downside of this mechanic. But anyway, yeah, so the Ranger could be a good target for tutoring, and having out this combo is pretty strong. Another strong card, I think, is the Triumph of the Hordes. It gives Trample +1 and Infect to all creatures you control for only 4 costs, is insanely good in any green deck, especially green token decks. So this is kind of the only card you got to think about. You want to do a little bit of math and decide, is it possible to win the same turn? Will enough creatures get through to give them 10 poison counters? And then another final just good card overall that I try to win with is the Hollow Hinge Overlord. And in my opinion, this is obviously the best wolf in the entire game. I mean, no questions asked, it should be in every wolf tribe deck, because on the beginning of your upkeep, you're going to double the amount of wolves you control. And if you combine that with your already token doublers, you're going to have more wolves than you know what to do with, and plenty of life and fighting with Tolsmir in play. So that's the big theme of the deck, that's the big idea. Try to win by destroying all other creatures with fighting and then just doing damage. So it's pretty simple, it's my simplest deck, and that's kind of the reason I like it. I don't need to think too hard. But here are just some honorable mentions, some other cards that I want to show off and talk about, such as the Howl of the Night Pack. So it's a 7 cost to give you, well, cards, creatures equal to the amount of force you control. So outside this deck, it's kind of bad because it doesn't do you a ton, just gives you 7 creatures at most if you had a mono green forest deck, I guess. But with your commander, you know, that's 7 triggers of fighting and then 21 life. And plus, if you have Yagamaya's Cradle Growth, you can make all of your lands forest, and so that could net you even more. So it's pretty good most games that I play it. And then the Aura Shards is a strong removal, just for general Selesnya deck. Especially tokens, because we're going to produce a lot of tokens, a lot of wolves, and we can just kill everyone's soul ring and all their precious enchantments. And then a nice wolf that I like to use is the Woofer Silverheart. Because he has Soulbound, we can hold priority and Soulbound with a token as it enters, and then let it resolve to fight and gain its life. So it would fight as a 6/6 instead of a 2/2. This guy's always good to have out for fighting. So if you did want to improve this deck, you could just include more combos with certain elves. Different shapeshifters would still count, and they're definitely stronger. I'm trying to stick with the amount of wolves I have because I do use this in a tribal event that my LGS puts on every now and again, so I need a certain amount of wolves to qualify for that. You could also include the Aetherflux Reservoir, because you're going to have a ton of life, and that is just a good way to take out someone. But it is quite salty and not quite budget, but you can do what you want with that. And of course, there are some wolves that didn't make the cut. One of them is the Ascendant Pack Leader. That could be a good 1-drop slot. I have Young Wolf as a 1-drop, but maybe you want this one instead. It does get bigger over time, so the payoff doesn't come right away. But yeah, that's basically the deck. That's all there is to it. You have wolves, they enter, and they fight. So not much to say, but it is fun when you have triple-digit life and 30+ creatures on the battlefields. So if that's your thing, this is the deck for you. If you guys got questions, comments, or you have just any other thing you want to share, I'd love to hear it. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. And I want to wish you guys a wonderful week or weekend. And yeah, that's all I got for you today. Have a good one.